Okay, let's dive into this really cool story about professional symbols in Canada. We're going to talk about two very specific, very plain-looking rings that carry a ton of weight, a huge amount of responsibility, a deep history, and a promise made not just to a boss or a client, but to all of us.
Maybe you've seen it before and not even thought twice about it. An engineer signing off on a blueprint, or maybe a geologist looking over a map. You might spot this simple little band, usually on their pinky finger. It's super easy to miss, but trust me, it's there for a very powerful reason. And that's the thing you gotta understand right away. This has nothing to do with fashion. It's not a status symbol, it's a tangible physical nudge, a constant reminder of a really serious promise they made about their duty to the public. So, where did this whole idea come from? Well, our first story kicks off with the engineers, and it's a tradition that was actually born from tragedy and the desperate need to rebuild public trust.
So picture this. It's the early 1900s, and a couple of major engineering disasters in Canada really shook the country. The profession had a moment of reckoning. They realized that just having technical skill wasn't cutting it, so in 1925 they came up with this unique ceremony. They call it a ritual, to bake that sense of responsibility right into the DNA of the profession.
And here's a fantastic piece of trivia for you. The powerful oath that's at the very heart of this ritual, it was written by none other than Rudyard Kipling. Yep, the same guy who wrote the Jungle Book. He was a huge fan of engineers, and the words he wrote give this whole ceremony its serious, emotional punch. The ring itself is just packed with meaning. Its plain, almost rough design is all about humility, a reminder that things can go wrong. And it's worn on the pinky of the working hand, the one that draws the plans or uses the keyboard. So it's literally brushing up against their work all day long, a physical reminder of the weight of their decisions. And, of course, it connects every new engineer to this long chain of professionals who came before them. Okay, but here's the thing. It's not just the engineers. There's a parallel tradition out there for the folks who work with the Earth itself, the geoscientists. Yeah, so the engineers' tradition was so powerful that in 1975, Canadian geoscientists were like, hey, we need something like that too. Their symbol is the Earth Ring. It's made of silver and it represents their very distinct duty, not just to build on the world, but to understand it, interpret it honestly, and be its careful guardians. And the design on this ring? It's genius. It perfectly captures what they do. You've got two main symbols engraved on it. First, there's the crossed hammer of a field geologist. That's for the direct, hands-on, see-it-with-your-own-eyes work. And then you have the seismic trace of a geophysicist, which stands for interpreting all that hidden data from deep underground. It's this awesome mix of the seen and the unseen. And the promise they make is just as intense. Just listen to this one part. I will not pass false information or too casual interpretations. Wow. That gets right to the heart of their biggest challenge, taking super complex, often incomplete data about our planet and presenting it with total integrity. All right, so we've got these two rings, two different fields, but they're both built on this one big idea. Let's really break down what they have in common and, what makes them different. The common ground here is pretty remarkable. A few things really jump out. First off, nobody makes you do this. Taking the oath is completely voluntary. It's a personal choice. The ceremonies are also these major rites of passage, guided by experienced pros. And most important of all, both of them put the duty to protect the public above everything else. Now, what's really interesting is when you put them side by side like this, you start to see a subtle but really deep difference in their core philosophies. The iron ring is kind of about mastery over materials, about building our world. But the earth ring, that's more about harmony with nature, about interpreting and understanding the natural world. One is about construction, the other interpretation. Okay, we need to talk about something super important here, a common point of confusion. These rings are not, I repeat, not a license to practice. They stand for a moral promise, not a legal one. Think of it this way. Every professional engineer and geoscientist has a legal code of ethics they have to follow. That's like the law. You break that, you're in real trouble. You could lose your license. The Rings Oath, on the other hand, is a promise you make to yourself and your peers. There's no legal penalty for breaking it, just the weight on your own conscience. It doesn't replace the rulebook. It builds an inner drive to do the right thing. So you might be wondering, in our crazy, fast-paced modern world, why do these old traditions from, 1925 and 1975 still matter so much? Why do they stick around? Well, it's because they've never been more important. Seriously, think about the huge challenges we're facing right now. Climate change, sustainable infrastructure, responsible resource management.
In all of these areas, technical skill is only half the equation. These rings are that quiet daily reminder that every single decision has to be guided by a conscience.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. In a world that's so full of rules and regulations for everything, what's the real value of a simple human promise? Maybe, just maybe, it's the most powerful thing of all.